Good morning, I am Kevin Price. Here today, going to talk to you about you and your business. We've got a lot to cover on today's program. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm been excited about our guest coming on today, Ardie Cesario. He's an author of a book that I think really is very timely. We Throw Things at You is the title of the book. It's on dealing with life's tough decisions. And it deals with a lot of interesting topics. I just want to welcome right at the very beginning, Ardie. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thanks for having me on your show.
You bet. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit of background information, if you will.
Well, I'm a fossil. I'm in the insurance business. I've been in the insurance business for 41 years, and as a hobby, I write books.
Well, that's, you know what? I mean, who was the guy who, oh, my God, The Hunt for Red October, yeah, Clancy. He was in the insurance business and ended up writing books. So, you know, that's not necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, it gives us something to do.
That's right.
Like Dr. Wayne Dwyer used to say, you know, don't die with the music still in you. And I've had these stories in my head. I said, look, I got to write these out because they're true stories, and I think they should see the light of day for sure.
Yeah. So tell us about your publishing history.
Well, I have one book out called, I do hospice work. I work with the dying, and that was a real buzzkill for a lot of people to read about that. That book was called It Is All Good and God Is at the End. So I decided I'd write another book about We Throw Things at You, and it's 6 true short stories, again, that I felt that should be told. And the reason why I use that name, We Throw Things at You, you know, being in the insurance business, assumption of risk. I remember the first time I went to the New York parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, and I was so bummed out growing up in the New Orleans area, they don't throw anything at you. So like Pavlov's dog, we used to having things thrown our way.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting analogy. Yeah, this is, of course, one of the most spectacular parades in the country, but if there's nothing hitting your forehead, it's just not nearly as interesting.
No, man, if you're a kid growing up in New Orleans, when you go to that parade or the Pasadena parade, what a buzzkill. I mean, because they throw nothing at you.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. So, but the things that are being thrown at us aren't necessarily the enjoyable things like you would have at Mardi Gras. Your book's not about that. Kind of give us an overview of the 6 stories.
What we talk about in the book is, like I said, these are true stories. One is a real story of love. It's a great love story. This woman was going to marry a doctor, but instead she ended up marrying a fisherman, and they actually lived 57 years. And you know, even though she chose not the money, she chose the right way. Another story, a little controversial. A buddy of mine was a pot dealer. He got thrown in prison and ended up dying from AIDS-related illnesses that he contracted in prison. He never gave up any of the people that he was, you know, selling the pot to and so forth. A lot of these people now are elected officials and so forth. So a little controversial there. And then a true story about a man that was put in slavery. And the other stories are, you know, a little voodoo story. You know, it's Louisiana, but there's a running theme there in all the stories is that we got to get past this skin pigment thing and love one another.
Okay, so that you would say that's the overriding theme.
Yeah, that's the one thing is that, you know, again, racism just doesn't make good business sense. And as a matter of fact, I've got a YouTube video out called a Christmas Story to End Racism. So if you get a lot of background information on this book, if you go to YouTube and say A Christmas Story to End Racism, and it talks about a weird Christmas story that you wouldn't believe. Santa and elves and a fight and a racist Santa Claus and racist black women, but with a great ending.
Interesting. At the end has a happy ending.
That's good. It has a great ending because it's true, and these are all true short stories.
Oh, that's interesting. Very
but
interesting.
The entire book is dedicated to Martha White. A lot of people don't know who Martha White is, not the cornbread lady, but Martha White did what Rosa Parks did, and she did it 2 years before Rosa Parks did. And again, taking nothing away from the great actions of Rosa Parks, but did this unsung hero, Martha White, did she really inspire Rosa Parks possibly?
Wow, that's interesting. And tell us about Martha White, the one that's in your story.
Well, Martha White, like I said, it was just a nobody in Baton Rouge when they had the Baton Rouge boycott in 1953. Now, unlike Rosa Parks, no one heard about her, but she was taken off the bus and they beat the hell out of her and threw her in prison. And again, today she doesn't really want any notoriety, but did she, in fact, inspire Rosa Parks?
Interesting. Talk a little bit about, what the takeaways you intended when you wrote this book.
Well, I want people to come away and say, look, everybody has the potential in them to inspire other people. Like that great classic movie about It's a Wonderful Life, how you impact others. Sometimes these little stories and these little incidents in your life may be meaningless at the time, but when you look back in retrospect, especially at the end of your life, you realize, man, that was an important story, and maybe you did inspire somebody by what you did. Yeah. And that's what the takeaway here is to say anybody can inspire someone.
So, in addition to insurance and this desire to write books, do you have other books in the queue, if you will?
Oh, I do. I do. I mean, I'm writing a book right now, a little book called Insurance Covers Everything Except What Happens. Just a how-to book, how-to book for people that think that they buy insurance, but they buy it. Nothing ever is covered, but they buy it for the peace of mind. So I just want a little how-to book how to go through the insurance business.
Interesting. So that's it. I love the title. That's really, really catchy. I really do like that title. So what do you think drove you? How many times have I heard that over my career? Hey, I thought this would be covered, but it's not covered. Yeah, I know. I had a stint in Life and Health, Group 1. And it's amazing how things somehow get missed along the way. I also had a lot of clients who were very grateful for what they had. It was life-changing difference. But
one thing I love about life insurance, there's no gray area. You're either dead or not dead.
That's right. Although the circumstances around your death could have an effect on your policy, obviously.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But another thing in the book that I bring up is I overhear conversations. People talk so doggone loud on cell phones, but occasionally I hear some real zingers. So all throughout the book, I've got some of these overheard conversations that I feel they're in fair use.
Okay. Yeah, well, if people are too loud to be discreet, then by all means. By the way, do you have a website other than the one for us to look at Outskirts Press?
Yeah, you can go to my Facebook. We throw things at you. You can go to Outskirts Press. You can go to Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble. Or just go to, again, the Facebook, We Throw Things at You. Or just go to my website, Ardie Cesario. That's ARDIE CESARIO. But really, I'd love your readers, especially in the Christmas season, to go to YouTube and see A Christmas Story to End Racism. I apologize in advance for the way I tell the story, but I think it kind of puts things in perspective. Yeah. So we really have to put the skin pigment behind us.
And is that ArdieCesario.com?
Yeah, you can go to ArdieCesario.com or just, like I said, go to the Facebook, Ardie Cesario.
Yeah, very good, Ardie. I appreciate it very much. So talk a little bit about, what your aspirations are going forward, particularly in the writing front. You have another book in the works. What do you see long-term happening?
Well, like I said, it's kind of funny right now. A lot of people have short attention spans. I went to New York and met with several publishers, and they always have the same thing, that a lot of the millenniums do not like to read books, and if they do, they want them short and sweet. So I'm writing shorter stories. I wrote one book that was the size of War and Peace, and it never saw the light of day because everyone I let read it said, this is just too wordy. So I'm going with short, easy-to-read books that you could read on a plane from New York to L.A. or New York to Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what's his name? Patterson? James Patterson has now got an entire growth industry of these books that he mass produces that are all one sitting readings,
Yeah, and that's my focus. You got to give the people what they want. But again, I want people to come away from anything that I write, that they read, that they should be uplifted by it and realize that they are important. Everybody is important, and everybody can change a life.
Well, I think I'm going to start making coloring books because I think that's probably pretty much where the culture is now at in terms of intellectual energy and commitment.
A lot of us will still color outside the lines, even though we're a lot older.
Yep, that's exactly right. It seems like the older I get, the more I color outside the lines, in fact.
Absolutely. Hey, and as much as I try to be good, I still avoid the temptation of sin, but I do stay in touch for sure.
There you go. Ardie Cesario, author of a really interesting book. I want to strongly suggest you check it out. We Throw Things at You. Thanks so much for being with us, Ardie.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much. I really appreciate you.
You bet. When we come back, we're going to have more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here will show up over there at the national website, usdailyreview.com. While they're liking it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter.